Hey, it's Steve Zautke. Welcome to another edition of the Traction Reaction Pod. I tell you, what a week and what a weekend. Just a good time. It's so fun being back down in Naptown, Indianapolis, seeing a lot of friends I haven't seen in about a year and a half. And they said 140,000 people. Well, I guess the infield, they kind of shut down the infield, but wasn't a lot of social distancing, especially in some of those shots in the turns. But what are you going to do? It's science, right? Uh, let's talk about Helio Castroneves. A lot of comparisons, of course, with Phil Mickelson went into PGA at 50 years old. Tom Brady, of course, who refuses to lose Super Bowls anymore. And then you got Elio becoming a four-time winner. And it's kind of interesting when you look at Elio. He looks almost the same, I mean, from when he joined Team Penske in 2000 to now. I mean, yeah, he looks a little bit older, maybe, but I mean, he's only a year and a half younger than probably Al Unser was in 1987. No offense to Al, but I guess it's the dancing that must be keeping him young, because Elio looks good, and of course his hair always looks marvelous. So Elio, here's another interesting fact. Elio and Tom Sneva, only two drivers to leave Team Penske and win in Indianapolis 500. Of course, he had Tom Sneva, first man to go over 200 miles an hour in 1977. First one the following year in 78 to average over 200 miles an hour over the 4 laps. He wins the national championship in 1977, 78, and gets let go. They bring in Uncle Bobby. They wanted a guy who could develop chassis a little more. Penske wanted to move on in that way. And I guess Tom liked to complain a bit. That's what I heard. Anyways, I think it worked out, though. Penske jettisons Sneva. He gets to go to Judd Phillips, Sugar Ray Prune. They finish second in 1980 in that old McLaren M24. And then he moves on to Bignotti Cotter. It was right. He would have been right up there in 82. He would have been mixing it up with Mears and Johncock in 82 if he didn't have a late engine, the engine let go towards the end of that race. He was right up there. And then 83, of course, he wins. 84, he was damn good too. Steve was quick, quick driver. What other else we got here? Some other notes I wanted to talk about: winners and losers. Let's go down the results here. You got Alex Palou. I mean, what a great race, a 3-car race. He had the last yellow, I think it was on lap 24. And yet it's this 3-car race between Elio, Alex Palou, Pato O'Ward, and then Simon Pagenaud was able to jump in. And then even Ed Carpenter came in. So these guys are running for 75 laps, green flag. Only, I think it was 1.25 seconds separated first through 5th place at the end. Just some good racing. A couple of drivers that turned some heads. Santino Ferrucci was running full-time last year. Now he's doing Busch or Xfinity Series, I should say. I got to throw a quarter in the jar for that one, I guess. Only running the one race at Rahal Lanigan Letterman Racing, and he finishes 6th. Fantastic run. That's after some wall contact, too, earlier in the month. Sage Karam, I mentioned this guy last week. This guy always sticks the car in the show. What does he do? He goes out, starts in the last row, finishes 7th. Fantastic run. One-off team. They do one race. They get a top 10. Not only a top 10, they almost get a top 5 out of it. Just a great run by them. Renus VK, also Ed Carpenter Racing. All 3 cars for ECR Racing look good. Ed Carpenter brings us home 5th. I think he was looking for a little bit more than that. VK2 was mixing it up, had some issues there. Conor Daly. Fans were going wild when he took the lead. I'm like, Conor Daly's in the lead. He just took the lead. He didn't just take the lead under caution. He went and got it. He was looking good. Unfortunately, he had a tire falls out of the sky. Typical Conor Daly luck, apparently. Didn't take him out of the race, though. He was able to finish 13th. J.R. Hildebrand, he was, all month long, he was the fastest of the 4 Foyt cars. Only 3 of them made the race. That number 1 throwback scheme in 1961 J.R. Hildebrand finishes 15th. That's a one-off. Considering you look at what Sebastian Bourdais, who has been looking pretty good on the road courses in some of the earlier races. Bourdais looked awful all month. You got Kimball missed a race, and Dalton Kellett. Well, let's face it, he's Dalton Kellett. And then you got the Stefan Wilson situation. That's the elephant in the room. It looked bad. I mean, coming down pit road, he hits the wall, and it really screwed up Colton Herta and Scott Dixon's race. You know what? For the fans' sake, it made a great race. Who knows what? I mean, maybe those two would have diced to the finish, and it would have been a fantastic. I don't know. Maybe Scott Dixon would have stunk up the race. That's something we'll never know. You know, I know a buddy of mine wrote on Facebook. He's still waiting for Stefan Wilson to apologize to those two. Maybe he did. Maybe he did mention something to them. Everybody loves Stefan Wilson. He's a great guy, great on social media. A lot, especially the younger fans, really enjoy him, especially a situation with Justin. But it kind of harkens back to what happened to Dixon a couple years ago with Jay Howard. Here's a guy who hasn't been in a car in a while, goes out there, makes a mistake. This is what happened to Stefan Wilson, made a mistake. Scott Dixon, you know, got caught up in it. Very frustrating. Team Penske, God bless you, Simon Pagenaud. This guy, who would ever thought he would be as good as he is at Indianapolis when he first came over? And I think he would admit it. He's one of these guys. He's learned to love the place, and the third place finish showed a lot of speed. They were always just a little bit back. Was it a Chevy problem? Well, then you had Ed Carpenter Racing looking so good. So Joseph Newgarden finishes 12th. Scott McLaughlin was looking good. Then he had to make a late pit stop. And then he had the situation with Will Power, who actually showed some speed early on and then had his issues. So very, very un-Penske-like month of May for Team Penske. Fantastic being down there. Thanks everybody to Mike and Craig at the Memorabilia Show, the Indy Memorabilia Show. We had it out in Plainfield. All of us vendors who were out there were overwhelmed by all you fans that came out and supported it. We had a Friday night and Saturday during the day, just was full. People were out there, and thank you from all of us. Your wallets were open too. So we certainly appreciate you guys coming home with a lot of unique items. It's going to be back at the Speedway next year. Come on out and see it. What's cool about this event, it's the #1 event for memorabilia, racing memorabilia in my book, and it always brings out the oddball stuff. This year, I came home with an ashtray from the Argentina race that was held in Raffaella in 1971. Did I even know one existed until I was there this weekend? No, but it was really cool. It's a pretty cool looking piece, and the price was right. So that came home with me, along with some as well as some photos. So Indianapolis for us, it's just magical for that month of May. And now we go to Detroit because, after all, what did Robert Wagner say? After Indianapolis, everybody goes to Detroit. So hopefully we'll get this straightened out, and they'll be coming back to Milwaukee in 2022 or 2023. Let's keep our fingers crossed. Write a letter. Let the captain know. He reads his fan mail. Trust me. He does hear the feedback. There's been some rumblings of them wanting to add ovals. Make yourself known. Say, hey, I think it's a good idea. Not only should they race at Milwaukee, but they need to get it back to the week after Indy. It would make so much sense. Trust me, the people that are going to Detroit are going to be there, whether it's on the first week of June or July 4th weekend or Labor Day. So let's correct a wrong that's been wrong for too long, and that's Milwaukee not following Indianapolis. Because I think you get some date stability, you get some people. I think the fans would come out and open up the infield for tailgating like we used to. I think the fans would really, really love that. But we got Detroit, and don't forget Road America, July 17th through the 20th. That's going to be a good time. Vintage Indy guys will be up there. So not only you get to see the cars of today, you're going to see the cars from yesterday. It's going to be a good time. So make sure you check out roadamerica.com, and we'll be chatting with Jeff Orlowski here in a little bit, talk a little NASCAR, find out what happened down at the World 600. Michael Waltrip kind of screwed up on pit road. No, it's okay, Mikey. It is the World 600. That's okay. Coke didn't give you any money for that. So, all right. Thanks for listening. Don't forget to subscribe, and feel free to leave a comment, and we'll talk to you again next week on the Traction Reaction Podcast. I'm Steve Zautke.